This is my 1997 Saab 900 SE, new to me project on the channel. Yes, I know it is not a convertible like I said I was looking for. It's also not something familiar that I said I was looking for, but when a subscriber in Portland, Oregon sent this to me and said he was selling it, well, it left me no choice. Let me explain. This new gen Saab 900 was made from 1994 to 1998, this being a 97 model year. It is essentially, at least in my opinion and many other people's opinions, a better version of the old generation 9.3. Let me explain why. This car has a lot of problems that we're going to get into in a minute, but the big thing that, in my opinion, makes this car so much better than the old generation Saab 9.3 is because of what's under the hood. This is a 2-liter turbocharged engine, which from factory, this produces about 185 horsepower. This one has been tuned, more on that later, but it has Saab's T5 engine management system. You can tell that by the red DI cassette under here, and it's one of the strongest and most durable motors that Saab manufactured. So I had this car shipped down here from Portland, got it sight unseen, and we've got a lot of work that we need to do to it. As you can see, the bones of it look really good. It's not filled with rust. The paint is, you know, for a car that's almost 30 years old, the paint is not bad. I mean, it really has some spots on the hood like this that I think is probably just damage from sap over the years. It's got some scuffs on the bumper here, for example, a couple little scratches here or there, but again, my requisite for this next project car was that it was cosmetically decent, and this car fit the bill. The fact that it is also a 3-door is super cool to me, and of course, if you come inside, it is a 5-speed manual, and it has cloth seats. These cloth seats were actually not original to the car. Someone swapped them in at some point, which I'm very happy about. The cloth seats hold up way better and in my opinion are more comfortable than the leather. She is high mileage, has about 209,000 miles on it, but these things can go forever if they've been well maintained. And this car has had a good bit of recent work done, including all new suspension, a new clutch about 5 or 7 years ago, and a lot of other big ticket items. Now it does still have some, not big ticket items, but it has a lot of medium to small ticket items that really need to be addressed sooner rather than later. I really love these wheels as well. The car also has newer tires, which is a big perk, but let's quickly talk about the couple of modifications it does have before I talk about the 26 problems that both the previous owner and myself put together and found wrong with the car in my 3 or 4 days of owning it. So we have some good DO88 hose upgrades here. Nice for durability. This intake hose hasn't been upgraded. Maybe DO88 doesn't offer that for the T5. There's also a forged diverter valve that's been put on here, as well as a forged wastegate actuator sitting right down there. All of that goes together with a stage 1 tune from Saab tuner Scott. This car is quicker than I expected. I'll put the dyno sheet on the screen here that I was sent, but it supposedly makes over 300 foot-pounds of torque for a good portion of the rev range, which is pretty awesome. But let's talk about the problems that this thing has that we need to address, and then we also need to discuss kind of what the plan is for this thing and what you should be expecting to see on this car. I've got the handy laptop out for my notes because it's going to be a lot quicker and easier to go through it this way. Number 1, check engine light. P0455. This car has an aftermarket gas cap on it. I am hoping that is the solve. I have a ton of parts on the way, including a new gas cap. That will hopefully fix that. And of course, I drove this car about 80 miles, went to take it for emissions, and when I was in line for emissions, the check engine light came on. I cleared it, drove it about 20 miles, it came back on again, so we're just gonna have to wait on that fix. We'll do a smoke test as well if the gas cap doesn't fix it. Valve cover gasket has a pretty nasty leak. It's leaking onto the exhaust, as well as onto what looks like the front corner here where the timing cover and all the belts and everything are. Also in this front corner, there is a timing chain tensioner leak. The power steering return line, according to some of the mechanic invoices I was reading, has a leak. I couldn't see anything too obvious, but I also didn't look incredibly close yet on that. The mechanic shop that this car was regularly serviced at supposedly busted the CV axle boot on this driver's side outer boot. So I have a new one of those on the way. Trying not to drive the car a ton because I don't want the lack of grease to cause some damage to the metal components and bearings and stuff in there. The shifter bushings are shot. I'm going to put a video on the screen. I have yet to diagnose this regarding what exactly it is, if it's on the transmission side or if it's on the shifter side, but you can see there is just so much play in it. I mean, I am amazed. It's easy to get in all the gears still. You can find all the gears, no problem, but the bushings are definitely shot after 28 years. Let me just put it that way, somewhere. Now let's talk about some of the more important ones. The emergency brake does not work. I'm hoping it's just a simple adjustment that's needed. You have to put the car in reverse to get the key out anyway, so it's always parked in gear. But still, not great to not have an emergency brake, so that's probably going to be one of the first things to do. Along with that, the rear brakes desperately need done, so I'll probably tackle both of those jobs at the same time. The brake pedal is very soft. Previous owner said it was like that as long as he owned it. I'm hoping the brakes just need bled and it's not like a master cylinder issue or brake booster issue, but we'll see. When the engine and transmission are cold, it does, I don't want to say grinds in the third, but you have to kind of be a little bit gentle with it and kind of take a pause between second and third. Once it's warmed up, no issues. I'm not very worried about that, to be honest. The display on the automatic climate control does not work. Previous owner included a new one of those in his parts bin, so that's great. I'm hoping that'll fix that. We might have to do some more work because if you own one of these cars, you know that those displays very often do fail. Probably one of the most frustrating things for me personally is that the tachometer does not work, or it works very intermittently. Like I'll hit a big bump and it'll pop back on for a couple minutes and then go off again. But like I said, I've put a little bit over 100 miles on this car so far, and it has worked for me a grand total of one time. The SID display is partially failing. Again, another common problem, not too worried about that. More annoyingly, the radio does not work. I've replaced the fuses. The power button goes, makes the antenna go up and down, but I think it might just need a new head unit. Maybe a Tech 2 scan will help me with that one as well. Next, the thermostat is slow to warm up on cold days apparently. It's 9 a.m. and it's almost 100 degrees already, so I'm not too worried about that. Right now, low priority issue. The ignition switch actually is, according to the previous owner in the shop that it was serviced at, might be the cause of the airbag light. Yes, the car has an airbag light on, and that is because there's a return spring that's broken in there. Essentially, when you crank it to start, it should push itself back to on. Once the car starts, it doesn't. So if you don't manually put it back to on, it'll just keep cranking the starter even though the car's already running. Not a big deal. Very easy to kind of work around yourself. But if it's causing the airbag light, then I definitely want to get that fixed. We'll probably do a Tech 2 scan at some point to look into that further as well. The car unfortunately also does not have cruise control operable at the moment. Not a huge deal, low priority item. The heat shield and radiator fan. So if you own an OG 9.3 or 9.5, you'll probably know there's a heat shield that sits over the exhaust manifold and the turbo. This car, or I guess the NG 900s, did not come with that. Apparently there's a way to modify the newer style heat shield to fit the NG 900, so I'll probably be doing that, but that does mean that over time sometimes these fans can melt. Now the fans do work just fine as far as I can tell, but that's also something that's probably a moderate priority to take care of. The driver's side headlight wiper is pointing in the wrong direction, very minor. The suspension does have an odd creak. I don't know what it is. It has new control arms, shocks, tie rods, etc. I'm guessing it's got to be a shot bushing or something somewhere. I haven't been under there to fully diagnose that yet, but also pretty low priority. It's missing the interior light switch down at the bottom of the center console. Previous owner included a new one for me. That was very nice of him. The dash rattles on startup or when the car is cold. And so I initially thought, well, maybe it's a motor mount that's just bad and it's causing the whole car to shake. The motor mounts and all the transmission mounts all seem great. So that's not the problem. I don't know what that is, but again, also kind of a low priority. It goes away once the car is warmed up. Three more items here. You might have seen it needs new front and rear Saab Sania badges. I have those on the way, excited to get those on. Second to last is, and I actually just added this in, so there's actually 27 problems, is this headliner is starting to sag a little bit. It's mainly in these two spots on both sides. In the middle, it's completely fine, so not very bothersome, just a very, very minor thing. Also very, very low priority. And then lastly, not really a problem, but just kind of an issue with swapping the cloth seats in because these cloth seats were out of a 4-door. There is no latch right here to fold the seat forward like you would traditionally have in the 3-door, so you gotta wind it this way. There's actually 2 more I forgot. Number 1 is the third brake light doesn't work, so the previous owner actually installed this LED strip in the back. Lastly is these little seatbelt buttons are broken. So what are my next steps for this car? Well, it's essentially get all of that stuff fixed. In no particular order, we're gonna kind of start with the higher priority stuff and work our way down. Of course, highest priority right now is to get that check engine light solved and get the car through emissions and then registered. We won't really be driving it until that happens. Like I said, I've ordered a bunch of new parts already, and there were a good bit of parts in the box that the previous owner sent me. A lot of them, unfortunately, weren't like the high priority issue parts, but they'll still be super useful as we progress with this car further and further. But some of the things that I ordered were the timing chain tensioner O-rings and seals. The license plate light bulbs are out. I guess that's another problem I could have added. I ordered a new valve cover gasket. I ordered a new CV boot. Oil filter desperately needs an oil change. The oil is filthy. I also ordered the new rear brake rotors and a gas cap as well. So all those parts are on the way. By the time this video goes live, they should be here and I should be starting to tear into this thing. And then maybe as we get some of those problems fixed, we can do a couple modifications here or there in the process. Now, last thing I wanted to ask you all about as an opinion. So this car has a handful of decals on it. It had a Vigan decal where the actual Vigan badge would be on a real Vigan right above the turn signal fender here. I had to remove those. I'll put a picture on the screen. But it also has these turbo badges on the bottom of the doors on both sides. It has this Saab badge right here, and it has this badge, or I guess decal, from the shop that did a lot of the work. I'm thinking of leaving that badge, or that decal, excuse me, on there, but I'm thinking I'm gonna remove this one for sure. I'm leaning towards also removing the turbo badges on the door. Let me know your thoughts. The turbo ones I'm kind of 50-50 on. That one I'm pretty sure on. I am super excited to get working on this thing. I just think it's so cool that it's NG900. Reminds me a lot of the NG900 that my dad had, which was a 2.3 NA, had over 300,000 miles on it, but was the same silver. It was a 5-door, 5-speed manual. That's the car I learned to drive manual on. I went to high school in that car a lot. And it was just a really cool car that, like I said, had over 300,000 miles on it before we finally parted with it. So hopefully this one can make it there as well. My goal is to get a lot of these things fixed and eventually pass it on to hopefully one of you. But with that being said, please let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Are you excited for this build? Are you disappointed with what I ended up choosing? Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Help me reach my goal of 100,000 subscribers. And I'll see y'all in the next one.